Welcome to the .mailer breakout session. The title of the presentation is How Can I Help You Today? How to Humanize the Purchase Journey. So just to give you a bit of background to who I am and who .mailer is, I'm Johnny Dixon, e-commerce channel manager for .mailer. Been with the company about 4 years, and my background's always been e-commerce. So I work with the solution implementers, technology partners, and e-commerce managers as well. .mailer, we're a global email service provider. We've got about 6,000 clients across the globe in about 150 countries. We're about 150 people. We're headquartered in the UK, but we've also got offices in New York as well. But what I really wanted to do is give you a bit of an introduction to our e-commerce pedigree, which goes all the way back to about 1999, when it actually started off as an agency. So we were building e-commerce websites. And so much so that we actually architected and built our own e-commerce platform. Now, we did this alongside .mailer. .mailer was growing kind of exponentially. And we soon realized that with platforms out there such as Magento, this was a very hard thing to maintain and keep on developing. So we kind of thought, if you can't beat them, join them. So we did. So that agency section of the business actually became a silver SI ourselves. And we built Magento sites successfully for a number of years. But we also then realized that, .mailer was the core focus of the business. So we wound the agency operation up, moved the expertise into .mailer, and now our focus really is automation for online retail. So the growth of online, and these are some US stats. Now, I don't need to preach to you about the growth of online. It's exactly why you're all here. It's exactly why we're here. You can see for yourselves, the stats and the predicted growth is huge. What I wanted to do, though, is kind of touch on the fact that with all this online growth, are we sometimes missing opportunities? Missing opportunities to interact in a bit more of a human way. So we're talking about humanizing the online experience. Now, let's bring a little bit of real-life interaction back into the online purchase journey. So what is shopping? Well, shopping is a social experience. You go shopping with your friends, your family, your boyfriend, girlfriend. You may love it, you may hate it. It may be a group of girls that go shopping, for the entire day. Maybe a bit of lunch in the afternoon, and then maybe they're buying an outfit for that night. It's a social experience. It's also something that makes you happy. It's an emotional experience. You get excited about it, and people love buying new clothes, new products. But it's also an opportunity for brands. It's an opportunity to tell a story. It's an opportunity to create an environment. We think about offline. Maybe we walk into a luxury retailer, and maybe we're handed a glass of champagne. Or you think about the Abercrombie & Fitch example, where you walk in, and you can hardly breathe because there's so much aftershave in the air. You can hardly see because it's almost pitch black. There's banging music. You can just about make out these silhouettes of these sort of beautiful people. But all of that is creating a brand experience. It's creating kind of an immersive experience that gets people talking about it and wants people to share it with their friends so that they come back. It's also a platform for promotion. You walk into any store, there's mannequins in the latest gear. You've got sale billboards saying 10% off here, sale racks. All these kind of things are trying to encourage a purchase. It's also a chance to connect. It's those touch points. You walk into a store and it's, hi, how can I help you today? It's personalization. It's expert advice. It's shop assistants coming up. If you go to the changing rooms and try something on and you can't get the right size, then you've got someone on hand to actually help you to find the products, to make that experience a little bit more personal, so that it actually encourages you then to follow through and make that purchase. So these are some things we need to consider, It's in-store experience versus that online convenience. And I think with online retail now, there's a lot of standardization around. So we take the Amazon checkout, for example. Everyone's kind of got a checkout that now conforms to one standard. So it's about how can we use other touch points to maybe personalize this experience, set yourself apart from the competition. And we can say that maybe e-commerce, is run by geeks. There's a lot of usability, there's a lot of response times, page load times, this kind of thing. But sometimes I'm not saying that's not important because it's absolutely vital, but sometimes maybe this is the detriment to actually considering that there are real people at the end of this. Real people we need to consider with real feelings. So we need to think about seizing the opportunity online. And online provides a whole bunch of extra opportunities that actually we wouldn't get offline. If someone says hi, don't ignore them. We can think about that in a store. You'd never ignore someone. As I said, shop assistant would say, hi, how can I help you? So it's things like, newsletter sign up, account creation. Are you interacting with these people? Are you starting the conversation as early as possible? And are you treating these people slightly differently? Someone drops their basket, you'd help them. Cart abandonment is fairly standard now online. But if we think about this offline, if we saw someone that walked around the store adding products to their basket and then suddenly dropped it in the middle of the store and headed for the exit, you consider your shop assistant would probably go up and try and see what was wrong. And the answer would be different almost every time. Maybe you didn't have enough time, maybe they couldn't find what they were looking for, or maybe they just didn't enjoy the experience. But how many people are sending that single cart abandonment email? The same style that's going to everyone. And then we say, someone places an order, say thank you. And that's really talking about transactional emails. And again, it's often a missed opportunity. But are we using those emails to maybe start building our brand, the style, offering something slightly different, updating seasonal imagery, starting to make things a little bit more different to start building that trust and loyalty. And then we think about other opportunities that often you don't get offline, so replenishment. So let's think about the example of buying a face cream maybe. And maybe if you use that face cream 2 times a day, you're likely to run out in about 30 days. Offline, that's extremely difficult to re-engage those people. You have to literally wait for them to walk back into the store. But online, you have that data. When they last purchased and what products they purchased. So we can utilize this to actually add value. And add a bit more personality. Show them that we care and show them we're kind of thinking about them so that they come back and purchase again. In the same way, it's, post-purchase and re-engagement series. Again, offline, it's almost impossible. We don't know where someone is in their buying cycle. We don't know when they last came in. And we don't really know what they last did. But we can do this online, and we can re-engage with these people. And we can use these touch points to start personalizing that journey and encourage them to come back and purchase again. Email is the most effective channel of communication with your customers. So it's how do we utilize this to reach out to these people, and set yourself apart from the competition because you're offering more. And obviously a lot of it can actually be automated as well, which is a marketer's dream. If you can set these things up to run in the background, you're going to earn this additional revenue without actually having to do too much work. So we talk about questions, behaviour. And one of my favourite kind of quotes is from Dale Carnegie. And he says, the most important thing someone can hear is their own name. And I think this kind of resonates. People do like talking about themselves and they're willing to give this information up. But it's about asking relevant questions at the right times. Not just putting a survey out there and asking for everything at once. But it's also about using behaviour, not just their explicit answers. Take the example of using someone's, asking for someone's size, and they'll tell you it's a medium. People often like to give you the answers that they think you'll want to hear. Whereas actually, if you look at their purchase history, it may have been, large, extra large for the last 6 times. So we've got to start thinking about these things. And then we come on, service and satisfaction. How many people are actually asking for this kind of feedback? It's a normal thing. It's how did you find things today that you get in store, but often we miss this out online. And if they are satisfied, what are we doing with that? Are we getting people to share those experiences? And in the same way, it's all about making it useful. If someone had a terrible experience, then what are we doing with that? Are we just sending them a follow-up email, with a blanket voucher code to try and get them back? Or could we maybe consider passing those people off to the customer service team to actually get them on the phone, try and get them back and become a brand advocate. At the end of the day, if these people have taken the time to tell you that they've had a terrible experience, if you can win them back round, they're going to become the biggest advocates for your brand. And again, a lot of this stuff can be automated. And you can use this data in many different ways. It can even, maybe influence your actual buying patterns. If you get product reviews and you know that one product has had 10 terrible reviews, it may actually change what products you stock. So we come on to personalization. And this is about treating people differently. Friends, family, strangers, we treat them differently. So why don't we kind of do that online? You think about the bartender example. You walk into your local bar maybe, and if the bartender knows you, he may call you by name. You may even have your drink ready by the time you get to the bar. But are we considering this online? Are we treating regular customers different from new customers? Are you being more friendly with repeat customers? And are you changing your communication to try and build that trust at an earlier stage with people that are completely new? It's also about tailoring the experience, the customer journey. Think about going into an offline store. Would you trawl through 100 kind of irrelevant products? You probably wouldn't. You'd know where you're heading and you'd kind of know where those products are that you want to purchase. But online, sometimes this is still the case. We go through pages and pages of products that are completely irrelevant. We can use email in this journey to try and direct them to products that we know that they're interested in. And use product recommendations. There's plenty of third parties out there, and Magento obviously has the product recommendations built in as well. It's about being a bit more clever. Online we always have that, people also bought this. People who bought this also bought this. Well, if you think about that in a store, you wouldn't see that on a billboard because we'd probably all end up wearing the same clothes. So it's about how you can use this, and start being a little bit more personal. And again, things like abandoned cart emails, the products actually in their abandoned cart may not be the last ones they looked at. So are you able to tailor this to actually be more personal and start building that trust? And then it's about behaviour as well. So a nice example of this is if we think about the grocery store and that journey. You walk into a grocery store or a supermarket, and the first thing you're confronted with is fresh fruit and veg. But if you actually think about this, that's not really that sensible. Those are the products that are most likely to get damaged, and just the whole nature of that, you think you buy them at the end. But the reason they do it is because it's uplifting. It sets sexy kind of expectations for the rest of the journey around the shop. So when you get to the ice cream aisle, you're not going to feel as guilty. So are we using this? Are we thinking about maybe with sale customers, people that only buy in sale? Are we encouraging them to do the same, but then trying to upsell them with other communication methods? Again, using product recommendations or using email to try and maybe push their average order value up. And it's about making people feel special as well. And we can talk about things like unique voucher codes here. But if you think about the human experience of that, that's almost like one on the house. Again, going back to the bar example. But it makes you feel valued, and it makes you feel like you want to come back. So personalization is obviously key to humanizing that whole journey. And with emails, certainly, we're always kind of caught up in the ROI, the return on investment. But what I think we need to start considering a bit more of is actually ROR, which is return on relationship. It's building long-term relationships that are actually going to be more fruitful. So it's all about kind of how you can stand out from the crowd. Who are you? Why are you different? What are your unique selling points? And are you communicating this? Are you starting to build those relationships early on and build your brand? And are you considering your persona? And again, we take the example maybe of training. So if you've got an off-store or an offline presence, you may invest a lot of money in training, training your staff how to act, how to interact, and how to be in front of the customers. But are people considering this online? And if any of you out there do have an offline and online team or bricks and mortar stores as well as the online shop, how many of you have maybe sent that marketing person that writes the emails or the copywriter into the store to work for a few days to see what that brand's all about and see how it's portrayed offline? These are the kind of things that we need to do to try and make it a little bit more personal and a little bit more human. It's also thinking about the copy and style and tone of voice of the emails. We always react to how people talk, sometimes how they look and how they behave. Think about kind of old versus young. Do you talk to them in the same way? So why are we doing this online, and why are we not trying to tailor that experience depending on the different demographics that we have the data for? And it's also about looking for, opportunities to bring a bit of personality, maybe. And a really simple, quite nice example of this is the unsubscribe link. It's a requirement by law, but it doesn't need to be written by lawyers. And we've got a client that very simply, says, "Are you happy wearing a dirty T-shirt? Unsubscribe here." It's just those little touches that are going to make you feel a little bit more personal and hopefully stand out from the competition. It's all about adding value as well. Customers are not just an ID. They're real people, real feelings, real needs. So let's try and tailor our communications to the individual people. So this is a nice quote here. A 5% increase in retention yields profit increases of 25 to 100%, and repeat customers spend on average 67% more than new customers. Now, it's vital that we are offering something more than just selling at our customers online. You build that trust, you build that loyalty, and you build that chance for repeat custom, and you'll actually gain much more higher additional revenue than you would otherwise. So what we always talk about at .mailer as well is, if you think about how much you can implement these kind of things in how many different ways, it can be a little bit daunting, but we always say, think big, start small, and then scale quickly. Time and resource are often two biggest excuses. But if you think, there's 52 weeks in a year, so let's try and maybe implement one thing a week. And then we've got time to test, optimize, see what's working, see what isn't. If you do everything at once or try to, A, you won't know what bits are working and what aren't, and B, it will get overwhelming and you'll never actually do it. So I wanted to provide a few little takeaways. Now this probably looks really obvious, welcome, abandoned cart, post-purchase. But I purposely picked these things because it's just thinking about how effective they are and maybe how they can be improved. So maybe with the welcome, start looking at people that are signing up to the newsletter versus those that are creating an account. And again, if you use that example in a shop, sometimes you do collect email addresses at the till, and sometimes people create or open an account with you. Those two things offline are massively different. Those people opening an account have a real intention to purchase. Are we thinking about this online? Are we adding things like dynamic content maybe to tailor the messaging within these emails? Are we adding personalization? And are we branching off? You might have a 3-step welcome series. Are you sending the third welcome email if they've made their first purchase or not? Or if they have made their first purchase, are you exiting them from that one because they're probably in a post-purchase series, that kind of thing. And again, the abandoned cart, customers versus guests. Let's try and change the messaging for those frequent purchasers, those top customers. Because it can get very mundane and very boring if the people that are purchasing with you all the time are getting the same emails. And that's the same with the post-purchase as well, Let's treat these new people that probably need a bit more customer service information about delivery, returns, that kind of thing, compared to those people that have purchased with us many times and actually maybe just want to see other recommended products, or other bits and pieces that are going to be new, going to be fresh content for them. So it's all about adding value, and personalization. So we've got to consider our different types of people, new customers, guests, repeat purchasers, VIPs, all these different people. And then start using some of the functionality like dynamic content, changing the seasonal imagery to really freshen this up and set yourself apart from the others who might be sending those mundane, boring emails that are the same every time. So a nice little quote there from the Bible that is Zappos. Historically, our number one growth driver has been from repeat customers and word of mouth. If you do this and you build that trust, they will tell other people and it will increase your customer base. You know, always remember that if you don't take care of your customers, then someone else will.